So I guess giving that weird guy at Pizza Hut my YouTube login was a bad idea. It was a nightmare and a half getting this channel back in order, having no choice but to scream on Twitter for help. Regardless, thanks to everybody who stuck their necks out trying to get attention to the problem. Sophia Norwitz, Irate Alex, Real Life Ryan, all the fans on Twitter who were pissed when they got the news. It really meant a lot. Yeah, my channel got taken over by a fucking crypto hacker for a little bit. It was not fun. And if the asshole who tried to steal my account is listening right now, we're gonna discuss this like gentlemen soon enough. Thankfully, the situation is finally resolved and we can go back to making videos on cool stuff. And since this is a special day, let's get festive. I'm going to talk about a piece of media that fits the Halloween vibe to a T and is all about how appearances can be deceiving. That's right, it's my dress up darling. What do you think the video is going to be about? John Carpenter's The Thing? Fuck that. That movie's scary, it'll give you kids nightmares. Let's talk about chill slice-of-life anime instead, since we haven't done that for a while. Besides, this is all about wearing costumes, pure Halloween vibe. So My Dress Up Darling is the anime adaptation to the romantic comedy slice-of-life manga created by Shinichi Fukuda. The story follows Wakana Gojo, a closed-off and shy teenage boy who works with his grandfather in his traditional Hina doll shop. While Gojo is very passionate about the shop and doll making, he has trouble connecting with other kids his age, anxious thanks to bad experiences he had with other children when they found out about his hobbies. One day, while using a sewing machine at school, a fellow classmate stumbles in on him, Marine Kitagawa, a Gyaru who seems completely out of Gojo's league. But it turns out she's a pretty eccentric personality, holding a deep passion for anime and especially cosplay. But she's worthless when it comes to actually making any of the materials for herself. The two become friends and decide to team up, Gojo making the outfits while Marine is the cosplay model, slowly but surely building the relationship and falling for each other. And that's basically the whole show. As stated, this is a chill watch. Now, this is a style of anime that pops up a lot. You take a very specific niche interest and dig into it as far as you can stretch the story. Hell, you have entire subgenres that do this. Gambling, sports, even isekai can end up doing this a lot. Taking one subject and focusing on it as if it's the biggest thing in the world. And My Dress Up Darling specifically focuses on cosplay, exploring the culture, how to get into it, and various types of ups and downs you might run into. It's clear that Fukuda has a deep interest in cosplay, and there's a lot of research that goes into portraying it as an authentic hobby that you can understand why lots of people enjoy. There's apparently tons of small hints and nods that completely flew over my head, using real-life locations that are popular among the culture. The biggest one is having the characters go to Ikebukuro for supplies, which is an actual district in Japan that sort of became a hotspot for cosplayers, and is sort of one of the main districts where they buy stuff for their costumes. In fact, it has an unofficial nickname being Akihabara for women. You get the point. The major focus of the manga is promoting cosplay and explaining why people enjoy it. Now, that's not the only reason the story exists, since when you really break it down, My Dress Up Darling is a love story. A love story between a closed-off boy and a free-spirited girl, which is a very classic setup, breakfast at Tiffany's. So a big part of the story is making two protagonists that you care about and want to see get together. And I'd say My Dress Up Darling succeeds in this regard. Marine, who is already basically the poster girl for the manga, blew up in popularity when the anime came out, earning the coveted title of Premium Flavor of the Month, sitting next to the MILF of the Decade, Yor Forger, from Spy X Family. Marine's personality is very positive and warm. She's very open about what she likes and is just naturally an optimistic person. She's popular among other students simply because she likes making friends. And while she is a Gyaru, it's more accurate to call her a manic pixie GF. Okay, not that exaggerated, some of you might be having Zooey Deschanel nightmares, but if you want an edgy or bitchy tsundere girl or a slutty Gyaru, this ain't the series you're looking for. Marine is just a good person, and she's sorta meant to clash with Gojo's personality. While she's very extroverted and friendly, Gojo has trouble connecting with other people. Now, some people flat out don't like Gojo, thinking he's boring. I even heard some accusations that he's an audience insert that exists for the viewer's fantasy. The dry male protagonist that is there, so you can replace him with yourself in your head. So now you have the Manic Pixie Gyaru GF. It is a thing that happens in manga a lot, where the protagonist exists so you can stitch yourself into the story in your imagination. But I feel like My Dress Up Darling is an exception. Yeah, the average everyman who wants a quiet life is a pretty heavy cliche, doubly so if the story takes place in a high school, but Gojo himself is an actual character. The story doesn't just say he's shy, meanwhile he's easily talking to girls and making friends. The guy is legitimately introverted. He's insecure about his hobbies, and he constantly feels like he's bothering other people. He focuses completely on his Hina doll hobby, and you really see how much working in his grandfather's shop means to him. He views the dolls as true works of art and wants to improve his skills as much as possible, but at the same time, he is intimately aware of how other people his age view his hobby as eccentric.
Nigga, you gay!
It's not traditionally masculine, and Gojo's social issues definitely don't help to sell it as anything cool or impressive. All he really has in his life is his grandfather and his Hina dolls. His parents died when he was young, so this is just sort of a way he's always sought comfort. He's clearly a mirror opposite to Marine, and it's a pretty classic case of opposites attract. Now that's not to say he's a prick or anything like that. You know, Marine is super nice while Gojo is an asshole. No, he's not kanji. He's also a super nice dude willing to help out his new friend as much as he can. He's just very shy, having trouble asserting himself and always kind of wondering if Marine really sees him as a friend. But this ends up being a pretty big reason why she starts to fall in love with him. It's specifically because he's willing to go out of his way just to make her happy. Now, of course, there's more characters than just these two. They run into other cosplayers, the main one being Juju and her younger sister. I'll talk about them more in a bit. Gojo's grandfather also shows up, and he's worried over his grandson since he starts doing things like playing porn games in the living room. That's not a joke. Along with all sorts of eccentric personalities as they dive deeper into the cosplay scene. The manga's cast gets pretty big as of the recent chapters, but the anime keeps it firmly small since it only has 12 episodes to get through the beginning. The actual structure of the anime is also pretty low stress. Essentially, Marine gets an idea for cosplay, gets Gojo to help her out, and by the end they get a little bit more attached to each other. You get this about 3 or 4 times, and they go over different ways of cosplaying, different styles, different tips, and that's pretty much it till the end of the season. This really isn't something you watch for an engaging plot or adrenaline-pumping action, at least not in the way you think. Regardless, I still really like this series. While it is a comedy anime, it has a pretty grounded depiction of teenagers falling in love. They do have the classic misunderstandings you see in anime, Gojo getting embarrassed trying to get Marine's measurements, trying not to stare at her and revealing outfits, even having a wet dream about her, but Marine is just as nervous when they first meet, not really realizing her feelings until it's basically screamed in her face, then falling head over heels for the dude. It matches their personalities in a way that sort of feels like a natural road for the characters. Gojo doesn't really know what he's feeling and is guilty even viewing his friend like that, like he's not worthy or would just upset her, while Marine embraces it and enjoys every second they spend together, even trying to make excuses just so they can hang out. While she's too shy to flat out say she loves him, which is sort of the big irony of her character, she's truly happy to be with Gojo. And it's nice to see the two stumble their way closer to each other. This is another sort of subgenre that My Dress Up Darling falls into, if you can really call it that. Basically, come up with a style of waifu you want to see and make a romantic comedy around it. That's how you get Komi-san, Nagatoro, Uzaki, etc. Now those are all just modern flavor of the month titles, but they're the most relevant to the point. The whole idea is you're taking their one personality trait or their gimmick and really emphasizing that. Truth is, there are God knows how many more out there, and it's been going on for literally decades. Of course, this is basically just pointing out that anime archetypes exist. The tsundere, the shy girl, the extrovert, the energetic tomboy. These are all well established and have existed for a long time. And regardless, it doesn't change the fact that My Dress Up Darling does do more with its characters than just slapping a label onto them and calling it a day. In fact, it's actually a theme of the story, to not judge people and don't assume stuff about them before you get to know them. Gojo's insecurity comes from how a childhood friend broke things off with him due to her viewing his passion for dolls as gross and weird, and since she was one of the few friends he really had, it severely messed him up. Of course, later on in the manga, this ends up being a pretty ironic plot point, but I won't spoil that for people interested in reading. It is pretty good. I will say that the studio that worked on the anime, Cloverworks, did a pretty great job. Slice of life anime already tends to have decent animation compared to other genres since there's no explosive action to deal with or grand landscapes to pour money into. Now I say this, but this is just a generalization. There are tons of action anime with great animation, and there's slice of life shows with dog shit animation. But My Dress Up Darling isn't one of those. There's a lot of talent put into the anime, everything from very creative and cartoonish moments to small, subtle details, down to how a girl's flesh jiggles when someone grabs onto them. There's also a lot of fan service. Probably should disclose that. This anime is pretty horny, both as a joke and to legitimately titillate the audience at points.
いいからして
No enemy!
This is where you get into those weird, awkward situations with Gojo I mentioned before. The dude barely talked to other human beings just a week ago, and now out of nowhere a Gyaru in a bikini is sticking her feet in his face. I'm not sure if that's his fetish, but it's about to be. Hell, a running joke with Marine is that she loves an erotic visual novel called Slippery Girls, a full-blown BDSM porn game. Not really sure why it's called Slippery Girls though, unless they're talking about... Oh god, gross. But yeah, this has a lot of fan service in it. A major plot point is that Gojo stumbles in on a naked girl and sees her exposed vagina. That's not a joke. That's how they become friends. Juju is a lot of fun though. I like her character a lot, and she's kinda also meant to be a contrast to Marine, where while she's very energetic and nice and ditzy, Juju's a bit more of an asshole. Likeably so, though. Also, her sister's great too. They're the other cosplayers that Gojo and Marine meet that I talked about, Sajina and Shinju Inoue. Though it's not really accurate to call this sister a cosplayer, she's more so the photographer for Juju, helping her sister out with her hobby and showing how somebody can gain a following and become a small celebrity in this circle. Sajina was inspired to get into cosplay due to her love of magical girl anime, and while Shinju wants to join her, she's afraid her body type will get in the way of dressing as the character she's interested in. They exist to sort of show the guerrilla-style tactics that cosplayers can resort to in order to nail down the look of their characters. While Juju is known for cosplaying as magical girls, she does want to do other characters, but since she's tiny, it's a pain in the ass, and the exact opposite problem exists for Shinju. She wants to cosplay as male characters, but her large breasts get in the way. So they show how to manipulate camera angles, bind their chests, and do subtle effects with their makeup in order to hide their actual looks. The manga goes into more detail, but you get a scene or two of it in the anime. Of course, season 2 got confirmed, so this is all eventually going to get covered. The guy who cosplays as female characters is chill. He's cool. He teaches them how to buy artificial titties. All in all, I'm gonna recommend My Dress Up Darling. While it's not anything that has life or death stakes or gunfights, it's just a fun time. Good to chill out with and just enjoy cute anime girls doing cute things. Sometimes you don't want to watch people get torn apart. Don't judge, you dicks. My channel got hacked. I gotta hunt down some Eastern European fuck. Regardless, if you like wholesome-ish romance anime, this is a pretty good one. While it doesn't focus super hard on being funny, it does have a good sense of humor. And this is a pretty good advertisement for cosplay culture, letting you in on some of the stuff these people do in order to pull off their costumes. It's not so focused on cosplay stuff that you can't enjoy it as its own thing, but it probably will definitely make you appreciate it a lot more if you're into this kind of stuff. I also heard rumors that Fukuda herself was a cosplayer, and that this series is sort of her pulling a Hajime no Ippo and trying to pay tribute to the hobby she really cares about, but I think that's just a romanticized story. I couldn't find anything confirming this, maybe somebody in the comments knows more. That wouldn't really be that surprising though, since that does tend to be the case for a lot of these niche interest mangas. Either that or it was something that Fukuda was always interested in but never pursued, and is sort of using the manga as an excuse to learn more about it. Still, this is a good show to watch. You can find it on your anime pirate site of choice, and I hope you guys give it a shot. Check out the manga too, it's actually pretty good. Not everything on this channel is depressing, guys. I swear to God. Nevertheless, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys. Hey, loser. Do you want a shirt? Do you want a t-shirt? I have shirts now. Look in the description for a link to a t-shirt you can buy. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll kill your family. If you don't buy the t-shirt, I'll poison your dog. If you don't buy the t-shirt, you're going to be the only person in town that does not have a t-shirt. Everyone's going to look at you funny. There's going to be social consequences to not having one of these t-shirts. I am now making express threats of violence against you if you do not buy my t-shirt. I will call the police, tell them how you're not buying my shirt. They're going to plant crack in your house, and they're going to arrest you and then beat you up in a jail cell. Buy my shirt.